Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, we will discuss about resource locators, in particularly by ID. So resource locators are the way to find UI elements on a web page, just to refresh your memory. So we use different kinds of resource locators like by ID, by name, by XPath, by CSS, by tag name, by partial length. The understanding of resource locators is so important. This is the concept you will be spending a lot of time in when you are really working in a project. So I will go in detail so that there are no doubts with the fundamentals. In Eclipse, let us start with creating a new class by name element by ID. I will be creating under Selenium package here class, and the class name is element by ID. Let us step back a moment. Here I'm creating a Java class, a regular class. We want to use TestNG. So let me cancel this and do right click, new, other, TestNG, and I will name this class as now element by ID, and I will also select at before method and at after method. So now we have a TestNG class with at before method and at after method and at test method. Let us reasonably name this test method. It is simply F right now. Let us make it like test by ID. And it doesn't matter in which order these methods are. Simply they will run at before method first and then test and then after method. But for the sake of clarity, I will move this at before method really before the test. And whenever this kind of indentation happens, you can use Ctrl Shift F so that it formats nicely. And Ctrl S. Now let us copy and paste the code for at before and at after. We don't want to type again and again. So at before usually deals with the browser instantiation, and at after deals with closing the browser. So in here I added code into the at before method, simply instantiating the Chrome driver, and in at after method I have added driver.quit. So with that, let us start with writing the code for the test. Before writing the code, we want to know which element we want to interact with on the web page. So let us open the page that we want to interact with and go from there. Here is our test page, which is testautomation.co/web elements. I have made few changes to this page. I'm acting as a developer also in this case. So I have added few links here so that we can use it while we are doing XPath. For now, our goal is to use find element by ID. So we have this field here. Let us right click and do an inspect on it and find out if it has an ID. So it has both ID and name. And ID is legal name, name equal to your name. So we will use this ID to find this element on the web page and enter value. So that is the goal. So we're going to use ID equal to legal name as our ID. Let us jump back into Eclipse, and in here we can add on to this method driver dot find element by ID and the ID value is legal name. So we are able to find the element here, and once we got that element, what we need to do? We need to enter value into it, right? So what does the find element returns to you? If you mouse over there, you can find out whatever this method is going to return you. Return type on this one is web element. On the left hand side, to get the reference back of the name field, what I will do is, since it is returning web element, I will declare a web element and give name as its name. We need to import web element since we are using it for the first time in this class file. Control S to save it. And now here is the interesting part. We are going to interact with this name field. So we need to, how we interact with it. Are we going to click on it, or are we going to enter value into it? We are going to enter value into it. If it is a checkbox, we will click on it. But this is a text field, we will be entering value into it. Let us do name dot. You can see bunch of options on it, right? You need to know what method to use if you want to enter value into it. Think a moment, what do you use? We will use send keys. Send keys is the method we will use if you're trying to enter value into a text field. So I will type in dot send keys, and here the parameter you can pass in is a string. So the value I want to enter into the text field is, let us say, John. Control S. So two steps. One is find the reference to that element, and then second step is enter value into it. I can combine these two into one step, but for the purpose of clarity, I'm keeping it separate. Now let us run the script and see if it enters the value or not. And before that, I want to comment out this piece of code, because if you run the code, it happens so fast, you will not be able to see whether it is entering it or not. So I will comment this so that the browser is not getting closed. And once again, save, right click, run as testng. We see the console output here, but I don't see the browser. And the browser is here, and we are having trouble accessing the page, right? Let us troubleshoot it. This is the part I want you to watch over, so that you know how to troubleshoot is the important aspect. Let me close this, and you know what? We never did driver.get to get to that page. That is why we are not seeing the web page. So let me do here, add that line of code. Driver.get string, copy the URL, and put it in here within the quotes. Since it's a string, Control S, right click, run as testng. Now we can see the browser opened and the value John is entered. Now let us try using some other methods on web element. So I can go ahead and do like name dot click, name dot is enabled, name dot clear. So let us try with clear and entering the values. In some situations where we want to clear the text field and then enter our value, right? Let us see how that works out. Name.clear. In here I have added few lines of code. Here I'm clearing the name field and re-entering this value so that we can see that when we are running the script, and bunch of system out statements. One is checking for is displayed, is enabled, is selected. So by the name itself we can guess it's a boolean, right? Is displayed. So if you mouse over it, you can find out the return type. This is what I always suggest, what type of return we are getting from this call. You can mouse over and find out. So all three of these are boolean return types. We will print it to the console, and here we will enter the value, clear it, and again enter the value. So we want to try these 1 2 3 4 methods. So I will run the code. We should be able to see clearing and re-entering the value, and also the console statements for the 3 is displayed, is selected. So John cleared and re-entered as John Doe here. Let me minimize this window and we will take a look at the console. And in the console, if I scroll up a little bit, we can see true, true, false. For the first one, is displayed, it is true because the text box is displayed, and is enabled and the text box is enabled. That is why we were able to enter the value into it. And is selected is false because every method that is present in the web element may not apply for every UI element. UI element means HTML element. So is selected does not make sense for a text box. If it is a checkbox, is selected makes sense, right? So in this case, the text box is not selected, and that's why the return type is false. Okay, so with this I will conclude this lesson. We have seen how to use find element by ID and enter value into it, clear value, re-enter, and check couple of options, the properties of the text element. In the next lesson we will see how to find an element by name, and we will add a little bit of complexity. What if there are two elements with the same name? We will see that in next lesson. Thank you.